Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Career Focus, part of Influential Future. I'm your host, Alexander Marinov. Today is my guest. I'm pleased to welcome Gabriele Musella. He is a co-founder of Coinrule, a very interesting startup, and obviously I'll let him talk more about it. Hi, Gabriele. Happy to have you.
Hi guys, happy to be here.
So, Gabriele, let's jump into it. So, can you give us more about your background? And obviously, I will let you explain because obviously we've met quite a few times before in previous meetings, but obviously the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So Coinrule is a agentic trading platform. We have been around for 7 years, and we help people to trade with automations, but also to bring all the technology that usually you have in investment banks and hedge funds down to the normal trader, and also like small family offices. We started this journey in 2018 and joined the Y Combinator in 2021. We did three fundraisers, and the journey has basically gone through all different like cycles of the market. Before AI, the market was called algorithmic trading, and there was all a narrative about like trading automation, trading bots, and that has evolved into more an agentic trading in a way that you have your personal agents giving you insights and drawing scenarios based on your data, on your current trading strategies and portfolio, and suggesting you basically what to change and how to navigate the current market. And that's both on digital assets when we talk about like cryptocurrencies, perps, but also on stocks and more traditional equities and also ETFs. So the company has started as a crypto native company, but then it moved on also to serve more traditional assets and to open new verticals across different regions. Though today we are still like a software provider, so we work as a layer on top of investment platforms, and we support more than 25 investment platforms for the like of Trading 212, Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, and also some on-chain DeFi DEXs on Arbitrum, Base, Binance Chain, etc., etc. So we have kind of spread quite horizontally as a company, and we kind of had to gather multiple expertise to actually also serve multiple typologies of customers. And we had three co-founders. It's me, Oleg, and Zenek. I'm the CEO. I started the company, then Oleg joined right after a few weeks, and then Zenek, our CTO, after like a couple of months, I think after we had like some CTO kind of interviews and kind of we then we kind of started in 2018. The founders are still the one on the board of directors, so the company has been like very compact and lean for the last 8 years, and here we still are like innovating and evolving our product. I
No,
give you
that
like a very short like summary of what has been like 7 8 years of work.
no, that's very interesting because obviously your background before was in traditional financial institutions, more on the UX and product design side. So, at what point did you decide, okay, I want to do something on my own? And what was basically the eureka moment that said, okay, I want to build something on my own? And then how did you decide on the particular idea?
It has, I mean, in my case, I've always been an entrepreneur since I was very, very young. It was mostly the case, like of me, like having little jobs and having my career in order to kind of produce the right funding for launching new companies, right?
Mm.
So this one is my fourth company. The other ones, they're different history. Like some of them were like service companies. Obviously, they were like generating revenues, but my heart was not really in the service business. One was an agency. Then we had another couple of product companies. One kind of was validated at some sort of product market fit. But then eventually we landed to Coinrule. So my background has been always in product design, innovation, working for a few banks, and kind of making always complex financial product accessible to retail customers. So this has been my background. That's where I love what I love to do. And I think like even now more than more than before, there is a need of more humanists in this technology sector that's like really dominated by I think in a way we have like a lot of machine to human conversations and prompting and interactions with the human in the loop in anything we're doing. That's interesting because on engineering side, it has sped up like the workflows, by several order of magnitudes.
Yes.
But on the other side, you still need a kind of humanistic like focused technology that really serves what are like 8 billions of human agents on Earth, right? So you still need that like a bottom-up approach where you start from user needs, and then eventually you find the right technology, and then you start iterating, and then you find the right product. Instead of what I'm seeing like more and more like amazing technology that's not yet been commercialized, waiting for a good use case. That
Hmm.
has been also in the past like a similar, we have had many similar situations where like, some good IP technology coming from like, even the academy was like sitting there for, for many years before we commercialized. But I think now, yeah, I've seen in the last few years, especially in the blockchain space, um, a lot of models that and fake user needs being forced into a technology just
Hmm.
because there was like something has been funded, it looked excited, but there was a lack of this like human-centered design approach, and therefore the use case that were coming were just like artificially like kind of built around a specific new innovation in the technology space. So I think it's good to have still this interaction between different disciplines and different domains, and have like different people with different mindsets sitting at the same table, even if each of these then a person actually has like his own agent and its own like LLMs kind of enhancing their implementation delivery, but you still need like that humanistic um, strategic thinking that can really like originate some spark. Obviously there is like AGI, it's here among us, and obviously there will be a point now in the next, I think, few months where the LLMs and all the agents will be like just left improving, and that's and we will be left on a side in a way. So but at the moment, still we can. I think it's really, really helpful, especially when I see how we interact in our company, to have this hybrid approach. Human basically brainstorms and strategic thinking, design thinking connected with all the enhancement that you can have with AI agents coding.
No, that's a very interesting point. Like you mentioned, obviously technology has evolved quite a lot over the last 8 years, changed completely for certain areas of the business. Obviously, I can imagine. Do you think that do you see AI more as a tool that actually, obviously, you mentioned helps improve your processes, or obviously, there's also the downside, like you mentioned, the fact that it can actually replace whole functions completely. Do you still feel that this is going to be a big challenge going forward?
I mean, for what we've seen in our company, yes, I do believe basically it's just modern processes. It's gonna get over all the functions. Obviously, now we've been in an acceleration phase in the last 6 months. That's crazy. I
Hmm.
think it will plateau at some point, and we will kind of understand how to use it the best. It will probably be a big division between what's being used by companies and personal use versus what's being will be used in the military and more in advanced
Hmm.
programs, with the government, right? So you will have these splits of how basically advanced the models are and where they've been using. Um, the thing is, what we're having problem even now, it's actually managing the personalities, the memory load, the learnability and the accumulation of knowledge of
Hmm.
each agent that is managed by each person in the company, for example, because at some point it really becomes a synchronization problem. I think that's like something that probably with concurrent agents, uh, we will probably solve soon with some of the new exciting tooling that are coming out. And but I'll see that like being the imminent problem. But in the future, I think companies will be built obviously by agent themselves. So there is all that problem about like, legality,
Mhm.
ownership that, it's between, human and also and machines, and where the liability sits in terms of controls of all sort of, you know, data and, liabilities, regulations, how the regulators are gonna look at your companies and responsibility within that. And once there is some harm towards customer, if it's in the financial sector or in any other sector, pharma, healthcare, where does the actual liability sits?
No, that's very, very interesting. And obviously, like you mentioned, there's a lot of questions about who owns the tool if AI builds it. Yes. So what do you think is the biggest hurdle when you're trying to become entrepreneur? Because a lot of people see the flashy glamour side of being an entrepreneur on TV, media, etc. But obviously, there's a lot of things that you don't see behind the scenes, the struggle to become a viable business. Can you give us a bit of flavor around that?
Becoming an entrepreneur is something that it's probably not smart if you look at the financial side of things and personal finances and the risk you take day by day on the long term. Um, Also, it's not for everyone in terms of how do you approach life and what's your mindset. You need to be stupidly optimistic to be an entrepreneur. And so that's something that bounced back after, you know, the kind of the honeymoon that you may have at the beginning of your journey, right? So you find a lot of cases where um, people with a lot of expertise, great academic backgrounds, jump into the entrepreneurship, and after 1 or 2 years, obviously they're driven by the new adventure, but then slowly, like, the excitement fades away, and they actually have the reality of the basically not having a constant cash flow, anxiety of tomorrow, anxiety of how you're being perceived by your peer, your network. So there are like some harsh truths that no one really tells you when you start, but basically they're like out there, and you start feeling like, after a few weeks when you start your journey, right? So usually the story is like that. You quit your job, or maybe you start a company, and on as a side business you start like a project. You don't commit 100% to it, so you waste 6 months to 1 year. At some point you understand that um, you cannot attend meetings because your job is actually your real job that's being cash flow is actually uh, basically stopping your growth. So you jump off the cliff, and that's not something that most people do. But the one that really want to fund companies and want to go for VC funding, they have to do it. So at some point, then you start the journey where at least I've seen it in many people, like the journey that lasts 6 months, where they don't have revenues, they're still building product, but they need to actually pull in like 12 hours a day, right? So that's the risky part, the jumping in the dark when you don't have like, full salary. There is a huge cost opportunity, um, you know, cost opportunity team there, because obviously you are like sacrificing your salary, not having revenues, and there's a lot of uncertainty. People are looking at you like you're unemployed, like what are you doing with your life, especially if you're grown up, right? Um, that's why you need to really have conviction in that, not on the idea in itself, on the product that will change 1,000 times, but conviction in what you want to do in life. So at some point in my life, I understood that what made me happy was building company and adding value and actually being very close to the customers. Um, and I know I made peace with myself. I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But that's a realization that you have come, to after like few iteration on your career. So if someone was offering like even like 3 4 times my salary to do something else, work in a big corporation, in some position that is very functional and streamlined, very specialistic, probably that will not be exciting for me. So that's why I decided to be entrepreneur, because you actually feel the pain of the customers, and you actually get to manage several units, even if they're tiny, if they're small, but then your hands really affect the customer. If you think about it, you have a company of like 10 people to start
Mm,
with, and each person is like 10% of the company, right?
yes.
So you have like direct impact. So I think there is like a big pain to start when you're an entrepreneur, but then you get a lot of rewards after, especially when you get funded or when you start generating good revenues. And that's like the first stage is not for everyone. So you need to be ultra optimistic at that stage and keep that optimism and motivate the others. And that's not that something that everyone is comfortable with.
No, that's a very good insight because some people say that becoming, like obviously you mentioned that becoming a entrepreneur is very counterintuitive because you take a lot more personal risk, career-wise, personal-wise, to actually make things happen. And that's actually where that's not something they actually teach you in business school because obviously they tell you, oh, this guy built a successful business, but to get to that successful business, probably he had to do three, four, five different companies that all failed, and suddenly he became successful. And there's many cases for that. And I think if I remember correctly, most successful startups actually are founded by people after their 30s rather than the media tries to show us the youngsters
Yeah.
after university because you still need to have some domain expertise or knowledge how to build stuff. And obviously, it's to your point,
Mhm.
it comes from a corporate environment.
Yeah, and also one statistically, 1 out of 7 companies that you actually build goes well and becomes successful. So, but you don't know when this one actually happen, if it's at the beginning of the curve or towards the end, right? So you need to give it 7 attempts, and then you can get lucky. You can get, you maybe like get that one even among the first or the second attempt.
Mm,
So it's really a conviction name, a number game, and also need to be flexible enough to understand where the market is going, because at the end of the day, product market fit and cash is the king.
yes.
So you need to be very flexible and not be stuck with an idea. But it's more like it's better to start your exploration with a sector, and then I mean like few experiments to validate, and then that's the best way to actually build something meaningful. Still, the sector will be something that you love and you like and you're obsessed with, because you will be sticking with that for like 10 years. People tend to underestimate how long it takes to build, to recruit, to sell the company as well. Selling a company is probably a 1 to 2 years process, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually, if you take the 1 or 2 years to start, get funded, 1 or 2 years to sell, it's already 3 to 4 years. And then you have the between the actual running the company. So you're talking about like at least 2 to 5 years. You're already, around the
Committed.
8 to 10 year mark. Yeah.
No, that's a very good point, and I think a lot of people don't realize this. So obviously, it's very good to get your insight as somebody who's done it a
Mhm.
few times over. And obviously, with Coinrule, you actually that was successful. Congratulations. So, what made you decide to create a platform where people can actually create coding rules without actually coding them? Was it because you saw a need for non-professional investors to actually do trading, like obviously you mentioned in the beginning, but then obviously consequently with change of technology, you saw that potentially there's an opportunity to give the same flexibility people have on the retail side that normally they get from a professional setting. And an additional to this is, do you feel that manual trading will disappear completely in the future?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. So one side there was I've been in crypto since 2012. Funny story, I bought 2 Bitcoins in 2012. I sold them. I made 6% on, and I was very happy about my returns. And actually, with this money, I went to Bahamas with some friends for a nice holiday. So in hindsight, it was a very expensive holidays, but that really allowed me to get into the space. And the way I got to know about Bitcoin was because when I was at MIT as a visiting scholar, a friend of mine got caught because he was using the computer room to actually mine Bitcoin. All the MIT computer rooms actually to mine Bitcoin. He got really into troubles. And so that was I got to know. So surrounding by yourself with like interesting people, that also helps a lot to always be in at the edge of what's the domain that you like. And then from that, like I got more and more into cryptocurrencies. I saw that the technology has the analysis application and opportunities. And all of a sudden, I saw that there was a big discrepancy between what was being sold as a secret sauce from quant boutique or investment funds, and then what was possible with the blockchain and cryptocurrencies at the moment. So all that modularity, composability, and really screamed for for automations and for like bringing like these like blocks of automations and algos to normal people. So if you see every technology, there are, as always, these moments where you bring more sophisticated like opportunities to retailers. So you're opening up basically technology more and more and more. And this
Mm.
was what was happening in crypto. At the same time, I also was playing around with some scripts on IG Index interactive brokers. They were not really like built like crypto first, and that's where actually I started sketching out the first interface for Coinrule, and kind of dreaming about like this, if this then that type of builder, rule builder, and that's where I understood there can be a market. Like we did extra validation, and we saw that the no code narrative in the algorithmic trading was actually pretty big, was really requested, and then like, basically nowadays we have like I think another two, three competitors, but we still have like a unique proposition for the way we actually let you create the strategy. Um, and we try to build a kind of universal language that can be used within Coinrule, but also can be apt to actually edutain you. So when you say edutainment, we talk about education plus entertainment. So it's
Mm.
something that really cares. So educating the users how to to learn how to trade with all the indicators, checking out relative strength of stocks and assets, moving averages, prices, volume, Bollinger Bands. Like there's tons of indicators. So teaching them how to use them in the most effective way, and also thinking how you can systematically apply those principles to the market in different like conditions. If it's a lateral market, if it's a bullish or bearing market, or if you want to just have more like a consolidated conservative approach with rebalancing your asset and build your own portfolio for the long term, right? So I think all this concept and many more of those we actually we're actually embedded in our knowledge center and academy, in our videos, and big part of our job is to educate our users. So we try to stay away from the narrative of make money fast, or like this is like a gold mine, but we kind of always have the more um, solid and mainstream approach of this is the tool. If you actually put a good amount of hours learning the discipline, then you can actually have a good original portfolio that is unique to yourself. You can use AI to enhance it, optimize it. You can use AI to assist you with different scenarios, to giving you daily report, what's happening, and then suggesting you also what to do or what's best, for your goal that you have set. So there is always this AI human in the loop mindset that we like, and that's where the future is heading. Obviously agents, but also human in the loop constantly.
No, that's very fascinating, and I think you're right that these days that's becoming quite common because probably people who are not sophisticated coders and programmers, they like easy solutions, and obviously the fact that you're actually able to create this for people, and obviously you saw the need, it's quite inspiring. Um, Knowing everything you know now about startups, crypto, and yourself, like what was the one piece of advice you wish you had when you were starting CoinRow in the beginning that you think would have helped you quite a lot?
um the beginning, I would say like mostly like the fundraise. When we raised three times. The last time we raised was a YC. We raised 2.2 million. We were already generating very good revenues at that point. It was bull market, so we could have raised, I would say, another 30-40% more of the round, but we didn't because we didn't want to dilute our shares too much.
Mm.
So technically, usually, in a startup, you have like several stage of funding. You have like family and friends round, pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, and each of these stage actually has specific criteria, applied to it, and also these are categories that really indicate at what stage your company is, right? So when we did Y Combinator, we did like a seed seed investment of 2.2 million, we could have done much more, and it could have probably gave us a little bit more budget to spend on marketing. We are very lean and we are very frugal. So I think one lesson is like always raise more than you need, at least um, like 20-30% more, because you never know what's going to happen. Like obviously it's very hard to think about like dark time when your like company's growing like this.
Yeah.
Because at some point in 2020, we did like I think 16x on the revenues in 3 months. So we went from like 6 people to 25 people. So we were hiring like crazy, and you feel the product market fit from the back. It's like a wave, almost like you're surfing. When you're surfing and there's a wave, and you feel that you're flying on the wave. And that's the same feeling, right? The customer support explodes. You cannot keep up with feature development. Everything breaks left and right, right? Um, so when you're at that on that trajectory, you're basically thinking about how to balance my work life with my sleeping literally. How do I keep up with like hiring the best people, having all the infra and all the servers still like up and running. So it's very hard to think strategically. Let me prepare for the dark times, for the bear market. So that's always like a kind of contrarian approach you should have when things are going well. Um, and then another piece of advice is also like do a very diligent um, co-founder dating process. People underestimate how difficult it is to find the right co-founder, but it's something that could be programmatically done, like almost in a dating fashion. Like, and obviously, it doesn't need to be very mechanical. That you need to label each of the meetings, but you can get to know the person in 2-3 meetings, but almost like conduct an informal interviews, and then once you think some person is right, you can also start running some workshop or like some tiny small uh, product session together to see how you brainstorm, how you ideate together, and then straight on. It's important to commit, like already, like for my way to commit was like, hey, let's put 500 pounds each in a bank account. Let's open a bank account. Let's see how it goes. And you can see if people are serious, even if it's a small amount. Or you can sign like early on, like kind of co-founder commitments documents. It's not really a shareholder agreement, but it's more in a way that is like a promise to how the shares are going to look. But don't get it's better not to get too much hooked up with the percentages and stuff like that, because at the end, at the beginning, if you're like 50% of nothing is nothing, right? So it's really like, and then if the company goes well, everyone anyway like has a good outcome out of it. So I would say like the finding the right co-founder is it's very hard,
Hmm.
but it's doable. In our case, I think each of us in my company, we are two co-founders,
Yeah.
probably changed like 4 to 5 co-founders before finding each other. So that's very important.
No, that's very, very. I think I've heard it quite often that finding the right co-founder, the right skill set, basically you want to create a synergy. Somebody is very technical, somebody knows the business, or is very good at sales in the project. And obviously, like you said, it's more like an art rather than a science because you have to click with the person to work together, and that sometimes it's very difficult. It's almost like a marriage, right? So,
Mhm. I mean, one good way probably nowadays to also screen for co-founders is actually to look at their markdown files on Cloud, so you can see the way they think when they're actually building the product. That's very important. Like nowadays, everyone is a creator, so having understanding also how do they produce and create and implement any sort of back office tool or processes, it's very important because even if you have a sales background, a marketing background, you will be always required to build some automation workflow. So it's actually
yes.
it's a good idea. Actually, Y Combinator, they just introduced also this in their application. So when you apply to Y Combinator nowadays, they also ask you for the markdown file of the project that you are promoting, because they want to see the way you prompt, you think, and you iterate.
No, that's very interesting, and I think that's gonna probably create more potential collaborations between people. I think that's a very good idea, definitely.
Yeah. For example, in our company now we have a one harnessing structure that, when we actually prompt our own agents, we use all together, and we have like markdown personalities in each repository, so that when the agent interact, they know that the personality of the person interacting with the agent, and the agent accumulate this knowledge so that they can share with the other agent. And actually, we have few markdowns where we um, actually update the statuses, the progresses, the decision made, and we have a backlog of personalities being kind of improved day by day, so that whenever we start a session, a daily sessions, implementing stuff in any part of the company, back office, front end, back end, full stack, database, we actually are always updating on what is our knowledge level, and how it has improved from the previous day. In a way, we have what you used to have in product planning sprints, and we have the velocity. We actually have almost like an agentic velocity on implementation and on knowledge transfer between agents in the company. So there is knowledge accumulation with the memory and everything, but it's also how much knowledge transfer there is between agents. And that's something that we still find it's not optimal at the moment because we didn't find the right tooling, but we are looking into it.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed, Gabriele. On this note, I would like to thank you very much for taking the time. I think that your insight was quite inspiring, and I think a lot of people will find it very interesting. And thank you again for taking the time to participate in the podcast. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you. Grazie.